Hi, this is Jet Spockman from thebudgetgraph.com, and behind me is the poster that I created called Death and Taxes, which is a representational graph of the federal discretionary budget. Now, it may sound like a mouthful, but it's actually quite simple, and it's very important that taxpayers know, just what they're paying for. Now, I focus on the discretionary budget because it's the largest part of our federal taxes, and it's also where all the departments are that people normally think of when they think of the government. Department of Agriculture, the military, Army, Navy, NASA, Department of Interior, IRS, Education, and so forth. And it's also a very candid and exacting look at our national priorities. Now, there's a lot of talk on the campaign trail about our priorities, what our goals are, where we're going, etc. But this is where the money goes, and it really cuts through the rhetoric. Now, I've depicted every department and almost every program that's over $200 million, and some even less than that. In fact, the smallest one I have is the Department of Governmental Ethics, which is $12 million. Now, we all think, Department of Governmental Ethics could certainly use all the funding it needs, and $12 million may sound like a lot, but we're actually spending 100 times that on the military, on the Egyptian military. $1.3 billion is what we're spending on the Egyptian military. So there's a lot on here that may surprise you. 1.3 billion on the Egyptian military. We're actually spending less on renewable energy. So there's a lot of talk about renewable energy, global warming, etc., but it's just not receiving the funding that it should. So 1.2 billion on renewable energy. That's about half of what the FBI spends on counterterrorism efforts. About $2.3 billion. So, a lot of funding going to counterterrorism. But if we look over here, the Navy is spending, $3 billion on the DDG-1000 Zilmwat class destroyer. That's a battleship. That's one battleship, $3 billion. So you're doing $2.3 billion on counterterrorism, and then much more than that on this one battleship. So it's looking about, our priorities and what's really important and what's effective as well. A lot of it is about comparing and contrasting different items, because it's not only about where our priorities currently are, but it's about where they should be. So up here we have the National Cancer Institute, which is $4.7 billion, and there's a lot of money and research going into that, and that's really important, looking for the cure and looking for treatments and stuff. But we're spending 3 times as much on farm subsidy, $15 billion on farm subsidy. That's a lot of money going to government handouts for large industrial farms. We just don't hear about it as much as the cancer research, which gets a lot less funding. And even $15 billion may sound like a lot. It's a pretty big circle. But if we look here, we have 10 times that, which is $145 billion spent in Afghanistan and Iraq for the war on terror. So, the numbers can get pretty astronomical. And, this may just be a bunch of numbers and departments, billion, million, etc., and you may not think it may relate to your everyday life, but just consider this. The $145 billion that we're spending in Iraq, that's enough to pay for the tuition, room, and board for every student in a public college or university. So that's free higher education. So a lot of it is, what we're spending on, but a lot of it is what we're neglecting as well. So I really just created this poster to try and educate the American public that paying taxes is a participation in democracy. It's not just this yearly burden that everyone dreads. When we write the check to the IRS each year, we're really just not writing a check to the IRS. We're writing a check to pay for cancer research. We're writing a check to pay for education, to pay for, to pay for farm subsidies, to pay for missiles, Black Hawk helicopters, to pay for NASA, to pay for veteran benefits, And the amount of money that goes to each thing is determined by the people in Congress and the President that we put there. So I really just wanted to, get some dialogue going about, the money that's taken out of our paycheck each week, and, how we should be as thorough with the thousands of dollars that we spend on the government as the thousands of dollars that we spend in the supermarket each year. So, once again, this is Jesse Bachman for thebudgetgraph.com. Thanks.